Drummerly.com Unlimited Drama Series.
What happens when you tell your husband his children are not your problem and try to push them out of your life, only for him to hand you separation papers instead? How far can you go blaming everyone else before the truth catches up with you? The day those legal papers landed on my kitchen table, I still thought I was the victim. The morning sun filtered through our kitchen windows as I stood at the counter, gripping my coffee mug like a lifeline. Gareth was making breakfast for Ellis and Mela, humming some tune I didn't recognize. The sound grated on my nerves. Everything about this domestic scene felt suffocating. "We need to talk," I announced, my voice cutting through the peaceful morning atmosphere. Gareth looked up from the pancakes he was flipping. "About what, Leo?" "About them." I gestured toward the living room where 13-year-old Ellis was sprawled on the couch with his video game, and 9-year-old Mila was coloring at the coffee table. "I think they should spend the summer at your mother's house." The spatula in Gareth's hand froze mid-flip. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about reclaiming our space, our marriage. When was the last time we had time alone together? When was the last time this house felt like ours, instead of some chaotic daycare center?" Ellis's game controller went quiet in the next room. I could feel his attention shift toward our conversation, but I didn't care. These kids needed to understand their place in this household. "Leo, they live here. This is their home too." Gareth's voice carried that patient tone he used when he thought I was being unreasonable. It made my blood boil. Is it, though? Because I certainly don't feel at home. I feel like an outsider in my own house. Mila leaves her toys everywhere. Ellis monopolizes the TV. They both interrupt our conversations constantly. And don't even get me started on how they look at me. How do they look at you? Like I'm the intruder, like I don't belong here. Which, apparently, I don't, since you always take their side in everything. Gareth set down the spatula and turned to face me fully. "That's not true, and you know it. I've tried to help everyone adjust. This is hard for all of us." "Hard for all of us?" I laughed bitterly. "It's been 3 years, Gareth. 3 years of me trying to make this work while getting nothing but attitude and resistance. I'm tired of being the villain in my own home." "You're not the villain, Leo. But sending my children away for the entire summer isn't the solution." "Your children?" "Exactly. They're your children, not mine. And frankly, I'm starting to think everyone was right about blended families. They don't work. There's always going to be this division, this us versus them mentality." I could see Mila peeking around the corner now, her big brown eyes wide with confusion. Good. Maybe she'd finally understand that this wasn't some fairy tale where everyone lives happily ever after. "Who is everyone?" Gareth asked. "Who's been telling you blended families don't work?" "People at work. My sister. It's common knowledge that second marriages with kids involved have a 70% failure rate. Maybe we should just accept that instead of pretending everything's fine." "So you want to give up, just like that?" "I want to have a marriage that feels like a marriage instead of feeling like a babysitter who doesn't get paid." Gareth's face flushed red. "A babysitter? These are my children, Leo. They lost their mother. This is the only stability they have. And what about my stability? What about what I need? I didn't sign up to be a full-time stepmother to kids who clearly don't want me here anyway. They're children. They're still adjusting. It's been 3 years." I slammed my coffee mug down on the counter, and the sharp sound echoed through the house. How much more adjusting time do they need? How much more of my life am I supposed to sacrifice for kids who will never accept me? Ellis appeared in the doorway, his face pale. "Leo, we don't hate you." I turned to look at him, this gangly 13-year-old who looked so much like his father. "Really? Because you could have fooled me. When's the last time you said more than 2 words to me? When's the last time you didn't roll your eyes when I asked you to do something?" I don't know. I'm sorry." "Sorry doesn't fix 3 years of attitude, Ellis." "Leo, that's enough." Gareth's voice was sharp now. "Don't take this out on him." "I'm not taking anything out on anyone. I'm stating facts. These kids don't like me. They don't respect me. and they make it clear every day that I'm not welcome in their little family unit. So maybe it's time to stop pretending otherwise. Mila had crept closer, tears starting to form in her eyes. Are you going to leave us? The question hung in the air like a loaded gun. Part of me wanted to say yes, just to see their reactions, but I wasn't quite ready to blow up my marriage. Not yet. I'm not going anywhere, Mila. But things need to change around here. Your father and I need time to work on our relationship without constant interruptions. They're not interruptions, Gareth said quietly. They're my children. And there it is again. Your children, not our children. Not our family, your children. Which proves my point perfectly. I could see Vivian's car pulling into the driveway through the kitchen window. Perfect timing. Gareth's mother had an uncanny ability to show up whenever there was drama brewing. She probably had some sixth sense about it. Great. Here comes your mother. I'm sure she'll have plenty to say about this conversation. I didn't call her. You didn't have to. She has a key, remember? Another thing I had no say in. The front door opened, and Vivian's voice carried through the house. Good morning, everyone. I brought muffins. She appeared in the kitchen doorway, took one look at our faces, and immediately shifted into protective grandmother mode. What's wrong? Why does everyone look upset? Leo thinks the kids should spend the summer at your house, Gareth said flatly. Vivian's eyes narrowed as she looked at me. And why would she think that? Because I think this family needs some time to figure out its priorities, I said, lifting my chin defiantly. And right now it seems like everyone's priority is making sure I'm as miserable as possible. That's not true, Mila whispered, but I barely heard her. Isn't it? When's the last time your father and I went out to dinner alone? When's the last time we had a conversation that wasn't interrupted by homework questions or requests for snacks or complaints about chores? When's the last time you tried to have a conversation with them? Vivian asked pointedly. I've tried. Believe me, I've tried. But it's hard to bond with children who act like you're the enemy. Maybe they act that way because you treat them like burdens, Vivian said, her voice ice cold. I don't treat them like burdens. I treat them like what they are, Gareth's responsibility, not mine. The words hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Ellis's face crumpled, and he turned and ran upstairs. Mila started crying openly now, and Vivian looked like she wanted to strangle me with her bare hands. How can you say that? Gareth asked, his voice barely above a whisper. How can you stand in our kitchen and say my children aren't your responsibility? Because they're not. I married you, Gareth. Not them. I love you, but I never agreed to be a mother to children who don't want me as a mother. They're part of me. They're part of my life. If you can't accept that, if I can't accept that, what? You'll choose them over me, because that's what it always comes down to, isn't it? It's always going to be them first, me second. Vivian stepped forward. Maybe if you actually tried to be part of this family instead of acting like a victim all the time. Don't, I held up my hand. Don't you dare lecture me about family. You've never liked me, Vivian. You've made that clear from day one. So, forgive me if I don't take family advice from someone who's been trying to sabotage my marriage since it started. I've been trying to protect my son and grandchildren from someone who clearly doesn't care about them. I care about Gareth. That should be enough. But it's not, Gareth said quietly. It's not enough, Leo. These kids are part of me. If you can't love them, then you can't really love me. I felt my phone buzzing in my pocket. A text from my sister Tessa. How's the family drama today? Still dealing with the stepkid situation? At least someone understood what I was going through. You know what? Fine. You want to make this about choosing sides? You want to make me the villain because I'm honest about the fact that this blended family fantasy isn't working? Fine. But don't expect me to pretend everything's perfect when it's not. I stormed out of the kitchen, leaving them all standing there. As I headed upstairs, I could hear Vivian comforting Mila and Gareth's heavy footsteps, following Ellis to his room. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Tessa. You deserve better than this. No one should have to deal with hostile stepkids and an unsupportive husband. She was right. I did deserve better. I deserved a husband who put our marriage first, not one who expected me to sacrifice my happiness for children who would never appreciate it anyway. Later that evening, after Vivian had taken the kids back to her house for a sleepover, Gareth found me in our bedroom. Ellis was crying, he said simply. Kids cry. It's what they do. He was crying because he thinks you hate him. I don't hate him. I just don't think it's my job to fix all his emotional problems. He's 13, Leo. His mother died when he was 10. He's still dealing with that trauma, and now he thinks his stepmother wants him gone. I never said I wanted him gone permanently. I said I thought they should spend the summer at your mother's house so we could work on our marriage. By excluding them from it? By prioritizing it? There's a difference. Gareth sat down on the edge of the bed, looking exhausted. I need you to try harder with them. Please. They're good kids. They just need time and patience. I've given them 3 years of time and patience. What I need is for you to show them that I matter too, that our marriage matters, that they can't just treat me like furniture and expect no consequences. What kind of consequences are you talking about? I'm talking about you backing me up when I ask them to do something. I'm talking about you not letting them interrupt our conversations. I'm talking about you setting boundaries that show them I'm not just some woman who lives here. Okay, I can try to do better with that. Can you? Because it feels like every time there's a conflict, you automatically assume I'm wrong and they're right. That's not true, isn't it? When Mila left her art supplies all over the dining room table last week, and I asked her to clean them up, what did you do? Gareth was quiet. You told her she could finish her project first. You undermined me in front of her. You made it clear that her wants were more important than my request. She was almost done with the drawing. That's not the point, Gareth. The point is that you didn't support me. You made me look like the mean stepmother who doesn't understand children. I didn't mean to do that, but you did it, and you do it constantly. And then you wonder why they don't respect me. We sat in silence for a few minutes. Finally, Gareth spoke. What do you need from me? Specifically. What can I do to make this better? I need you to show them that I'm your partner. I need you to stop treating me like a guest in my own home. And I need you to understand that I can't be the mother figure they want me to be if they're not willing to accept me in that role. They are willing. They just need more time. No, Gareth, they're not willing. And maybe that's okay. Maybe we need to accept that this is a household where you're the parent and I'm your wife, and those are separate roles. I don't want them to be separate roles, but they are, and pretending otherwise is making everyone miserable. The next morning, I woke up to find Gareth already gone. He'd left a note saying he was taking the kids to breakfast, and then to his mother's house. He'd be back later to continue our conversation. I used the quiet time to call Tessa. How did it go? She asked immediately. About as well as expected. Vivian showed up and made everything worse. The kids were upset. Gareth acted like I'm some kind of monster for wanting to prioritize our marriage. You're not a monster. You're a woman trying to save her marriage. There's nothing wrong with that. Tell that to Gareth. He keeps saying the kids are part of him. So if I can't love them, I can't love him. That's emotional manipulation, Leo. He's using those kids to control you. That's what I think too, but he doesn't see it that way. Of course he doesn't. He gets to be the hero dad while you're the evil stepmother. It's a convenient narrative for him. I just don't know how much more of this I can take, Tessa. I feel like I'm losing myself in this situation. Then maybe it's time to stop trying so hard. Maybe it's time to focus on what makes you happy instead of constantly trying to please people who will never appreciate it. After we hung up, I felt a little better. At least someone understood my perspective. At least someone could see that I wasn't the villain in this story. When Gareth came home that afternoon, he seemed different, calmer, but also more distant. "We need to talk," he said. "Okay. I've been thinking about what you said, about separate roles, about you being my wife and me being their parent. And? And I think you're right. I think I have been expecting too much from you. I've been trying to force a family dynamic that maybe isn't natural." I felt a surge of hope. Finally, he was seeing reason. "So, what does that mean?" "It means I'm going to stop expecting you to be their mother figure. But Leo, I need you to understand something too. I can't stop being their father. I can't stop putting their needs first sometimes. They're children and they've been through trauma and they need stability and love. I understand that. Do you?"
Don't leave. Let me explain.
Explain a shade I don't know.
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
"Because yesterday it felt like you were asking me to choose between you and them. I wasn't asking you to choose. I was asking you to show them that I matter too. You do matter. You matter so much. But they're my children, Leo. They have to come first sometimes. That's what being a parent means." And there it was, the truth I'd been afraid to hear. They would always come first. I would always be second. My needs, my happiness, my comfort in my own home. All of it would always be secondary to two children who didn't even like me. "I see," I said quietly. "I hope you do see. I hope you can accept that and find a way to be happy here with us. And if I can't?" Gareth was quiet for a long moment. "Then I guess we'll have to figure out what that means." That night, as I lay in bed listening to Gareth's steady breathing, I made a decision. If I was always going to be second in this house, then maybe it was time to find somewhere else where I could be first. I picked up my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found Jasper's number. We'd been flirting at work for months, but I'd never acted on it. Maybe it was time to change that. "Hey," I typed. "Are you awake?" The response came quickly. "Always for you. Everything okay?" "Just thinking. Want to grab coffee tomorrow? I could use someone to talk to." "Absolutely. I'm here for you, Leo, whatever you need." I smiled in the darkness. Finally, someone who put me first. The next morning, I dressed more carefully than usual for work. Nothing too obvious, just a fitted blouse that brought out my eyes and the skirt that always made me feel confident. If I was going to start putting myself first, I might as well look good doing it. The office buzzed with its usual Monday morning energy as I settled at my desk. As an office administrator, I had a good view of the entire floor, including Jasper's cubicle in the IT department. He looked up when I walked in, giving me that smile that had been making my stomach flutter for months. "Leo!" My coworker Sarah bounced over to my desk with her usual enthusiasm. "How was your weekend? You look great today." "Thanks. Weekend was interesting. Family drama, you know how it is." "Oh no. Stepkid issues again?" I'd been venting to Sarah about my home situation for months. She was divorced herself, no kids, and she always seemed to understand my perspective better than most people. "Always stepkid issues. Sometimes I think Gareth forgets he has a wife. That's so unfair. You shouldn't have to compete with children for your husband's attention." "Exactly. But apparently, that makes me selfish." "It doesn't make you selfish. It makes you human. You have needs, too." Jasper appeared at my desk, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might need some extra caffeine today. You seemed stressed in your text last night." Sarah raised her eyebrows and made herself scarce, claiming she needed to check on something in the supply room. "You didn't have to do that," I said, accepting the coffee gratefully. "I wanted to." "So, lunch today? There's that new place on 5th Street we could try." "That sounds perfect." The morning dragged by as I found myself watching the clock and stealing glances at Jasper. He was attractive in a way that Gareth wasn't. More polished, more attentive to details like bringing me coffee without being asked. When he looked at me, I felt like the most important person in the room instead of an afterthought. At lunch, we found a quiet corner booth at the new restaurant. Jasper listened intently as I told him about the weekend's drama. "So, let me get this straight," he said, leaning forward. "You asked for one summer, just one summer, to work on your marriage, and your husband acted like you were asking him to abandon his children forever?" "Pretty much. And then his mother showed up and made me out to be the villain for wanting to prioritize our relationship. That's insane. Any reasonable person would understand that marriages need attention and care, especially blended family situations. Those are complicated. Thank you. Finally, someone who gets it. Everyone acts like I'm supposed to just naturally love these kids and put their needs before my own happiness. You can't force love, and it's not fair of anyone to expect you to sacrifice your own well-being for children who aren't even yours. The validation felt like cool water after days in the desert. Here was someone who understood my perspective without making me feel guilty for having it. Gareth keeps saying they're part of him. So if I can't love them, I can't really love him. But that's not how love works, is it? Not at all. Love is between two people. Children from previous relationships are, well, they're baggage. That sounds harsh, but it's honest. You didn't choose to have those kids. You shouldn't be expected to pretend they're yours. I've tried so hard, Jasper. I really have. But every time I make an effort, they just look at me like I'm intruding on their little family unit. Because you are intruding in their minds. They probably see you as the woman who replaced their mother. But I didn't replace their mother. She died. I had nothing to do with that. Kids don't think logically, though, and it sounds like your husband isn't helping them adjust. He's just expecting you to deal with their hostility while he plays the hero dad. Exactly. He gets to be the good guy while I'm always the bad guy for having normal adult needs. Jasper reached across the table and covered my hand with his. You're not the bad guy, Leo. You're a woman who deserves to be happy in her own home. The touch sent electricity up my arm. When was the last time Gareth had touched me like that? When was the last time he'd looked at me with the kind of attention Jasper was showing me right now? I should probably get back, I said reluctantly. Of course. But Leo, if you ever need someone to talk to, someone who actually understands what you're going through, I'm here. Day or night. That afternoon, I found myself texting Jasper more than usual. Nothing inappropriate, just friendly conversation. But there was an undercurrent of something more, and we both knew it. How's the rest of your day going? He texted around 3. Better now. Thanks for lunch. It felt good to talk to someone who actually listens. I could listen to you talk all day. You have such an interesting perspective on things. My husband would disagree. He thinks my perspectives are selfish. Your husband sounds like he doesn't appreciate what he has. I stared at that message for a long time before responding. Sometimes, I think you're right. I know I'm right. You deserve better, Leo. My phone rang, interrupting our text exchange. Gareth's name appeared on the screen. Hey, I answered. Hey, just checking in. How's your day? Fine, busy. You? Good. Listen, I was thinking about our conversation last night. Maybe we could go out to dinner this week? Just the two of us. Mom said she'd watch the kids. That sounds nice. But even as I said it, I was thinking about Jasper's attention, his validation, the way he made me feel interesting and important. Great. How about Thursday? Thursday works. And Leo? I love you. I know things have been difficult, but I love you. I love you too, I said automatically, but the words felt hollow. After we hung up, Jasper appeared at my desk again. Everything okay? You looked tense during that call. Just my husband. He wants to take me to dinner Thursday. That's good, right? Isn't that what you wanted? I guess. It just feels like too little. Too late sometimes. I understand. It's hard to rebuild trust once it's been damaged. Has it been damaged? The trust, I mean. Jasper sat on the edge of my desk, lowering his voice. Leo, he's shown you repeatedly that his priorities lie elsewhere. That's a kind of betrayal, even if it's not intentional. I never thought about it that way. Most people wouldn't. You're too kind, too willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. But actions speak louder than words, and his actions have told you exactly where you stand in his life. That evening, I came home to find Gareth helping Ellis with homework while Mila watched TV. The scene that had once felt like family now felt like exclusion. I was the outsider looking in on their little unit. How was work? Gareth asked without looking up from Ellis's math problems. Fine. Anything interesting happen? I thought about lunch with Jasper, about his hand on mine, about the way he made me feel seen and valued. Not really. Leo, can you help me with something? Mila called from the living room. I walked over to find her struggling with a tangled necklace. What happened here? It got all twisted up. Daddy said you might be able to fix it because you have small fingers. I sat down next to her and began working on the knots. For a moment, it felt almost normal, almost like the family dynamic I'd once hoped for. There you go, I said, handing her the untangled necklace. Thank you, Leo. You're really good at fixing things. The comment hit me unexpectedly. When was the last time someone in this house had complimented me or appreciated something I'd done? You're welcome, sweetie. But the moment of warmth faded quickly when Ellis called out, Dad, can you help me with this next problem? I don't get it. And just like that, Gareth's attention was back on his son, leaving me sitting alone with Mela. Later that night, after the kids were in bed, I found myself texting Jasper again. Long evening, kids' homework and family dinner. You know how it is. Actually, I don't. Never been married, no kids. But it sounds exhausting. It can be, especially when you feel like you're not really part of the family, just someone who lives in the same house. That must be so lonely. It is. I love Gareth, but sometimes I wonder if love is enough when you're fundamentally incompatible in terms of life priorities. Love should make you feel cherished and valued, not lonely and unimportant. When you put it like that, it sounds so obvious. Sometimes the obvious things are the hardest to see when you're in the middle of them. Are you always this wise? Only when I'm talking to someone I care about. I stared at that message, my heart racing. This was dangerous territory, and I knew it. But it felt so good to have someone care about me, someone who put me first in the conversation instead of treating me like an afterthought. I should probably get some sleep, I typed. Sweet dreams, Leo. Remember, you deserve to be happy. The next few days followed a similar pattern. Jasper and I would text throughout the day, have lunch together, and share increasingly personal conversations. He never pushed for anything physical, but the emotional intimacy was intoxicating. Your husband's an idiot, he said during one of our lunch dates. If you were my wife, I'd never make you feel like you came second to anything. That's sweet of you to say. I'm not just saying it, I mean it. You're intelligent, beautiful, caring. Any man would be lucky to have your full attention. I don't feel very beautiful these days. I feel more like a live-in housekeeper who occasionally shares a bed with her employer. That's because you're not being seen for who you really are. You're being reduced to a role: stepmother, wife, household manager. But you're so much more than that. Sometimes I forget that I am. Then let me remind you, you're Leo Marrow, and you're amazing. The way he said my name made my stomach flutter. When was the last time Gareth had said my name like that with appreciation and desire? Thursday arrived, and Gareth took me to a nice restaurant downtown. He'd clearly made an effort. He was wearing the shirt I'd bought him for his birthday, and he'd made reservations at a place he knew I liked. This is nice, I said as we were seated. I thought we needed this. Just us, no distractions. No distractions felt like a pointed reference to his children, and I wasn't sure how to take it. How was your day? He asked. Good. Busy at work. How about you? Same. Ellis got an A on that math test he was worried about. And there it was. Even on our date night, even when he was supposedly focusing on us, the conversation immediately turned to his children. That's great, I said, trying to keep the disappointment out of my voice. He was so excited. He wanted to call you at work to tell you, but I told him to wait until you got home. He wanted to call me? Of course. You helped him with some of those problems last week, remember? I had helped him briefly when Gareth was busy with Mila. I'd forgotten about it, but apparently Ellis hadn't. I didn't think he'd remember that. He remembers everything, Leo. Both kids do. They notice when you make an effort. For a moment, I felt a flicker of something. Guilt, maybe, or regret. But then I thought about Jasper's words. You're being reduced to a role instead of being seen for who you really are. Speaking of the kids, Gareth continued, I've been thinking about what you said. About separate roles. Maybe you're right. Maybe I have been expecting too much from you. What do you mean? I mean, maybe I should handle all the parenting stuff and just let you be my wife. Would that make things easier? It should have been exactly what I wanted to hear. But somehow, coming from Gareth, it felt like another form of exclusion rather than liberation. I don't know, maybe. We could try it and see how it goes. I just want you to be happy, Leo. My phone buzzed with a text message. I glanced at it quickly and saw Jasper's name. Hope you're having a good evening. Thinking of you. I quickly put the phone face down, but not before Gareth noticed. Work emergency? He asked. No, just a friend checking in. Must be a good friend to text you during dinner. It's nothing important, but it felt important. It felt like someone cared enough to think about me, even when I wasn't there. When was the last time Gareth had sent me a text just to say he was thinking of me? The rest of dinner passed pleasantly enough, but I found myself distracted, thinking about Jasper's message and what it meant. When we got home, I excused myself to go to the bathroom and quickly texted him back. Dinner was nice, but I kept wishing I was talking to someone who really understands me. His response came immediately. I understand you better than anyone, and I wish you were here with me too. That night, as Gareth and I lay in bed, he reached for me in a way he hadn't in months. But as he kissed me, I found myself thinking about Jasper's hands, Jasper's attention, Jasper's validation. I love you, Gareth whispered. I love you too, I whispered back, but the words felt like a lie.